But people around us started asking questions about us not having a baby or me not getting pregnant. But we never really cared, nor did we mind whatever they were saying. After our first year, my husband and I decided to try starting a family. Full of bright hopes of a young married couple, we both dreamt of having a boy and a girl, and foolishly thought that it would all be simple. Months and a full calendar year passed without any positive results. We began thinking and fearing that something must be wrong. Almost at our wits' end, we tried seeking medical help. Upon the recommendation of our doctor, my husband and I both underwent several medical examinations and laboratory procedures so as to determine the cause of my inability to conceive. And then the doctor broke the news. She explained to us that I was, unfortunately, among the approximately 10% of women suffering from an endocrine disorder known as PCOS or the polycystic ovarian syndrome. Never giving up hope, the doctor then gave me several medications and closely monitored my cycle so that I would be producing quality eggs that would increase my chances of getting pregnant. After I followed her medical advice, the doctor's suggestions seemed to work. I was pregnant for the first time. It was August 2008. We were so happy to finally see 2 lines on a pregnancy test. Full of excitement and optimism, we started buying books and baby toys and even created a list of possible baby names to choose from. But our enthusiasm faded gradually when we realized that my pregnancy was not progressing normally. According to the doctor, the development of the gestational sac was abnormally slow and did not appear to be at its right size for its age. Our hearts sank when she added that we might have to prepare ourselves for the worst scenario, namely that my pregnancy would not reach full term. On my next checkup, the doctor confirmed our worst fears as she informed us that my pregnancy was no longer viable. She explained that it was a cause of blighted ovum and that all we could do at that point was to wait for it to expel. Our dream was shattered that day. At that point in our young married life, that was the saddest news to hear and bear. My heart broke as I underwent the NC procedure to remove the gestational sac. When I came out of the hospital, it was even more heartbreaking when people asked me what happened and why. How insensitive. Other people were even condemnatory, implicitly blaming me for not doing enough to save the pregnancy. As if I wanted that tragedy to happen. Because of this, I was close to feeling helpless and hopeless. But I never lost all hope. It was not the end of the world for me and my husband. Life had to go on. I was still hoping and trusting in the gift of a child someday. As we went on our trying journey toward the hope of the gift of conception, my husband and I decided to renew our faith in the Lord. For we believed then that more than ever, He is in control and not us. We then heard of possibilities and miracles which lead us to begin to know more about St. Pio Pietrelcina. We had been hearing about Padre Pio's life from my father-in-law, who was a devotee. He kept telling us to pray to Padre Pio and ask for his intercession. He gave us pamphlets about Padre Pio's lives and works, and before long, I started reading stories of how Padre Pio blessed childless couples and healed people afflicted with cancer and other illnesses. In May of 2009, I learned that there was a church of Padre Pio in Libis. I told my husband about the church and convinced him that we should hear Mass on a Sunday. In June of 2009, so 2 years na po kami nagsisimba dito sa Padre Pio Center, we attended Mass here at Padre Pio Center for the first time. My husband and I admired how the rules were implemented inside the church and how solemnly the Mass was being celebrated. From then on, we vowed to hear Mass every Sunday here at Padre Pio Center. On our second Sunday, one of the church workers, the men wearing white, We were one of the lucky couples who were chosen to hold the saint's relic as it was being venerated by the people. It was a very touching experience to witness people touching the healing globes and seeing the very visible hope on their faces as they trusted that Padre Pio would intercede for them. After the veneration of relics, we had a moment as well to touch the globes. In that solemn and sacred moment, we prayed with all our hearts that the saint would intercede on our behalf, that our desire to have a child would be granted. In July of 2009, we learned that I was pregnant again for the second time. We were so moved and amazed at how our prayers had been speedily answered. We thank the Lord above all, and Padre Pio as well for his holy intercession. But our joy was cut short, again. In August of 2009, I had my second miscarriage, only a year after my first unsuccessful pregnancy. According to my doctor, it was due to a collapsed gestational sac. Another setback, another heartbreak. By God's grace, we never lost hope. All the more did we believe that our prayers would soon be answered. We held on to our faith and prayed each day. We were still in high spirits. God would simply not let us down. After the 2 miscarriages, we were convinced that there must be something seriously wrong for this thing to be happening a second time. So our doctor ordered me to undergo a battery of laboratory tests in order to avoid another miscarriage. Unfortunately, the lab results brought another bad news. I was found to be positive for APAS, or antiphospholipid antibody syndrome, a condition also known as the sticky blood syndrome. According to my doctor, my blood easily clots, thus hindering the nutrients from passing through the placenta to my fetus. My doctor then put me on baby aspirin, or Aspilet, to keep my blood from clotting. That way, should I get pregnant, my baby would be properly and normally fed in my womb. In February of 2010, I became pregnant for the third time. Since my doctor already knew my case, as soon as I came back positive for all of the tests, I was given heparin injections every 12 hours from the time I learned that I was positive till I gave birth. My pregnancy journey was not easy at all. It was a roller coaster ride. I had to take a lot of medications just to sustain the pregnancy, namely baby aspirin, heparin, Proluton, Dupaston, Petrogestan, halos lahat na po ata, suki na po kami ng mercury. To name just a few. From the time I learned that I was pregnant, I started praying the rosary every night, along with the novena to Saint Pio. I asked the Lord that He knows our financial capability and that hindi niya po kami bibigyan ng hindi namin po kaya. From then, I also promised to go to church every Sunday, and thankfully, the Lord spared me from the costly treatment of having LIT and IVIG. LIT po, pag buntis, it will cost as much as 14,000 per session, and yung IVIG naman po would cost as much as 100,000 per dose, depending po yun sa body weight. So, masyado pong mahal. As an APAS patient, there were so many complications. I developed mild preeclampsia and gestational diabetes. So, balibago na naman pong gastos sa gamot. My doctor even told me during one of my checkups that she would be very happy if I reached 32 weeks. But at the back of my mind, I knew and I trusted that through the intercession of Padre Pio, my pregnancy would be viable and would eventually reach full term. And so it happened. On October 30, 2010, last year po, I finally gave birth by cesarean section to a healthy baby girl. The doctor was thinking and hoping for 32 weeks at the most. God gave us 37 weeks instead. Sakto lang po sa full term. Saktong pag-term ko po ng 37 weeks, dun po ako na cesarean, dun na po ako nanganak. God answered our prayers and gave us our precious daughter, whom we named Yesha Francesca. Pero para po sa father-in-law ko, Pia pa rin po ang pangalan niya hanggang ngayon. It would be an understatement to say now that October 30, 2010 was the happiest day of our lives. For indeed, It was a day that God answered Padre Pio's intercessions with the priceless gift of life. Truly, Padre Pio's intercession was so powerful that the Lord heard our prayer. Now, in gratitude for the great blessing given us, we are sharing this story of our journey to inspire all childless couples and to tell them not to lose hope and not to give up. God listens patiently. So pray, hope, and don't worry. God, who is merciful and who hears our prayers, He is the one in control, the Lord of life and of love. He never disappoints. Amen. Again, thank you so much, Padre Pio, for your intercession. To God be the glory. Ito po yung husband ko, si Rosa Tindano. Ito po yung baby namin.
Very good, very nice. Thank you for the beautiful sharing. That was nice.